Despite the media hype, the sensationalism, Geert Wilders came in at second place in the Dutch elections. The PVV lost by an overwhelming margin to incumbent Rutte's VVD and only narrowly secured second place, gaining one seat ahead of the CDA and D66. This is a huge turnaround, as only 2 months ago was the situation reversed, with some polls indicating the PVV could win 10 seats more than the VVD and be in a solid first place. We saw a similar scenario in Austria with the FPO's Norbert Hofer in the presidential rerun that took place on December the 4th, 2016, losing to Alexander Van der Bellen by a greater margin than before. Indeed, much talk exists of not trusting polls due to Brexit and Trump, but in both of these instances, it seems, European polls are overestimating the ability of radical right parties to secure votes. The media has played into this, as have some radical right parties themselves, in claiming that Brexit and Trump are the beginning of a wave of nationalism, the Trump effect as it seems to have been named. However, the effect of this could well be the complete opposite. Trump is hugely unpopular in much of Europe. In this case, the Netherlands especially. During the American elections, even supporters of the PVV in a poll largely favoured other candidates over Trump, with only 37% backing him. The same can be said of Brexit in Austria, the other recent example. In the immediate aftermath of Brexit, support for leaving the EU declined by 8 percentage points in the polls. Thus, when Nigel Farage publicly announced that if Norbert Hofer became president, Austria would leave the EU, which wasn't a policy position of Hofer, nor a power the president is granted even if it were, damaged Hofer's public perception and called him to remark, "I would ask Mr. Farage not to interfere in internal Austrian affairs." Indeed, one angry FPO member lamented that Farage hindered the party, and that the FPO were very aware that the majority of Austrians support EU membership. Brexit and Trump haven't been a boost to the European right. If anything, it seems, due to the inordinate media attention given to both Brexit and Trump, radical right parties are struggling to forge an identity disparate from them. One example of this is the repeated media suggestion that Wilders is the Dutch Donald Trump, which is erroneous. Wilders is a career politician that long predates Trump. If anything, it's the other way around, really. Trump is the American Wilders, but honestly, the comparison goes as far as blonde hair and a populist message. It should be noted here that the PVV did increase its vote share from 2012, where Wilders only managed to secure 15 seats. However, this was on the back of his dissolving of the government and calling for snap elections. This hurt his public legitimacy and his votes declined as a result. In the 2010 elections, the elections that secured his position in government as a support party, he managed to gain 24 seats, which is a larger proportion than this year, so overall, this is not the best Wilders has done, and the huge media attention on this election is a bit over the top, as if Wilders is somehow a radical and new Dutch phenomena. He isn't. The best any radical right party has done in the Netherlands is Pim Fortuyn List. In 2002, they became part of a coalition government after obtaining 26 seats. Joining forces with the CDA, the government only lasted 5 months, which is the shortest-running post-World War II government the country has ever experienced. The collapse was mainly due to the poor party organisation of Pim Fortuyn List, exacerbated hugely by the assassination of its leader only a few days prior. But also the party was swimming with the inexperienced. A novel party, they attracted some strange characters. Indeed, even Fortuyn himself quipped when sorting through party applications, "Oh my god, how can we do this to our country? These people are incompetent." And this is the thing. The Dutch experience with the radical right hasn't exactly suggested they've got their acts together enough to run a country. Sure, many in the Netherlands are dissatisfied with immigration and want reform in Europe. The increasingly right-leaning platform of the VVD, the vote share of the PVV and the CDA attest to this. The right, to use a very broad term, won this election easily, but politics doesn't take place in a vacuum of pure ideology. There are institutional constraints and supply-side factors to take into account, and this is where the PVV stumbled and blundered, as did Pim Fortuyn List. These constraints then loop back into the demand side of elections. People vote strategically, and the perception of a vote as a wasted vote can be strong and influential to decision-making. With the PVV, this could have taken the form of all other parties refusing any potential coalition with Wilders, but also undermining his credibility as a politician, which Rutte managed to successfully hammer home during the debate 2 days prior to the election. Indeed, as Rutte said, there's more to governing a country than sitting on the sofa using Twitter. A one-page manifesto does not a government make, but this assumes that government was what Wilders wanted in the first place, which, in my opinion, it certainly wasn't. If it was, he, like other radical right parties throughout Europe, would have tried to forge alliance with other parties to present himself as a viable coalition option. Wilders did and continues to do the opposite, and he's doing it knowingly, becoming increasingly confrontational towards his political peers. Wilders has precipitated, or had his fingers on the pulse of, a shift in the political saliency of immigration and the EU, and due to Wilders, these issues will probably find themselves high on the agenda of any new government formation. Parties need not be in government to effect policy changes or reformulate the political debate. That said, it's safe to say the banning of mosques and the Quran, well, these measures are hardly going to be implemented soon. Wilders in government or out of it. So expect a VVD government with the D66 and the CDA in coalition, along with a leftist party to complete the majority, either Labour or Green Left. Labour's support has been utterly decimated, and really, Green Left has been the true winner of these elections. Whether they will want to risk their newfound success by entering a majority right-wing government is another matter entirely. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please click like. If you didn't, let me know and leave a comment to tell me why. If you like my content, please consider becoming a Patreon. Huge thank you to those already donating. As always, it means a lot to me. Thanks for everything, and until next time.